Gosford has it all. That beautiful waterfront, lovely bushland, wonderful bushwalks up around Rumballara. So much going for it. The development is going up. So many cranes in the sky, apartments everywhere. Lots of life, lots of people becoming a bit multicultural as well, seeing people from different cultures who bring such vibrancy and joy to the community. But why are there still empty shops? And antisocial behaviour was highlighted quite a lot when the council had a crackdown around the railway stations and on our Central Coast line between Newcastle and Hornsby, particularly around Gosford, and the number of people with knives and some of the people apprehended might have shown that there is a need for a bit more of that sort of community policing. And I know it's controversial, but as we heard from the member for Terrigal the other day, he believes that police should be able to wand anyone anytime. Would you have a problem with that? Apparently the legislation doesn't allow that. They need to go through all sorts of jump through all sorts of hoops to actually do that. But when they did that, they found people carrying weapons, which was quite concerning. The Gosford Strip Precinct has been working really hard to attract people to the city. So those sorts of incidents set them back a bit. Precinct Board Chair Juan Yoko is with me. Juan also helps run the Fun House in Gosford, which is a very inclusive, bright, happy place that's showing us what could be. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, going well. You and Glitter and the team are so passionate about Gosford. But your concerns?
Look, it's an ongoing project. I think what we've really come down to now, a year and a half into the Gosford Strip Precinct, is we're seeing that what we've got is an emerging city, an emerging regional city, and that's kind of how we like to shape it. There's kind of, I think a lot of the tone has changed and the perception around we're trying now, we're really making some moves, working with the 24-hour economy as part of this project, as well as council. I think we've really identified that there's some really key things that we can fix. You know, that 40-year decline has kind of steadied out now and is changing. There are still, you know, sometimes it does feel like 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, but overall what's kind of working now is that we are getting that kind of, I guess, giving some love back into Gosford. I feel like there's been a lot taken from Gosford over the years, but there's such a focus happening right now, and for the businesses that are there, by no means is it easier. We're going to sugarcoat it. 73% of the businesses on the strip are in fact in rental crisis right now. I think that's one of the really sort of key points that we have been able to determine. It's been quite an amazing experience, really, bringing all the businesses together and I guess finding that safe space so that everybody could talk openly, freely, and highlight what are our key sort of blockers, what are our challenges. And right from the beginning, when we were working, having our workshops in Sydney, we were able to identify that those 3 key blockers were, you know, number 1 was the parking, number 2 were facades, and that kind of vandalism and abandonment, and number 3 was the red tape around not only establishing a new business in Gosford, but expanding an existing business.
Of course, one suggestion we had on the air the other day when we had a big forum and a lot of solution-based radio, Coast Shelter was saying that some of those properties should be used for accommodation. They should be meanwhile accommodation and could be looked after by Pacific Link or one of those good landlords who make sure that the right people get a go.
Yeah, look, there's so much that can be done beyond even accommodation. Think about what's set up cities that were in abandonment, like Brighton, like King Street, Newtown, like Newcastle, around all artists having spaces. We've got so many of those mini arcades in Gosford, 3 that come to mind immediately, which are completely empty and just sort of open to sort of walk through and do whatever you like every day. There's that kind of opportunity that's happening that we aren't sort of taking advantage of just yet. And I think that part of the work that we're sort of wanting to make now, right, although we've sort of ticked that box and we've started on the point around parking, we're hoping that Baker Street with the new technology will be in. What we're really focusing on now is that facade and abandonment, which of course, you know, great things can be happening in town, but it doesn't feel very nice when you're walking through and there's 40% of the buildings are empty, or there's walls that are graffitied and, you know, broken windows taped over. Like, that doesn't feel great. And for a city that's larger than Hobart, we shouldn't be sort of seeing that.
And it's interesting, isn't it? You see where development has happened. You look across the road from where you are at the A-Land development, went there for the World Cup at 5 o'clock in the morning, full of people, full of life, went to the railway underneath the Beniathan development, full of people, full of life for another World Cup game. The streets were full of people going to the rugby league. You know, it can be very good. And then the police recently had a small operation to wand people for weapons, and sadly, it wasn't great. We'd had a fatal stabbing, and we won't talk about that because obviously that's pending in court. Yeah. And then just not long after that, a fellow found with a knife. There was some CTV footage of a bloke brandishing an axe. It's been reported to police as well that they're investigating. You know, I mean, a police presence surely as well. Would you like to see beat police walking through Kibble Park, up and down Man Street, and giving them the right to wand people? The member for Terrigal saying that the legislation's ridiculous at the moment, that they need to jump through all of these hoops. You know, surely if I'd be happy for someone to wand me. I don't mind. They'd find maybe the keys and a few $2 coins or something. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I don't know enough about the wanding yet, or well, we haven't discussed it as an organisation, but what I do know that there is definitely policing will help, and there's also the sort of the basics that we haven't gotten down to, right, around improving street lighting, clearing blind spots, installing CCTV in all those high-risk areas. So there is still a lot that we can do while we're working out is wanding appropriate or not, or, you know, all the other bits and pieces. There's still stuff that we can be moving forward with, and I think that when we look at the pieces of antisocial behaviour around vandalism and all that, it's a fact that activation does sort of change that and challenge that when people start moving in. Look at the, you know, so proud and so chuffed with the Gosford, the block party. We expected around 200 people, and we thought if 200 people came through the CBD and were gathering at the same time, there'd be more people than there'd been in a really long time, and 2,500 showed up and over 2,000 registered. So you're right, people do want to come, they do want to hang out. And what was really fascinating, Scott, you might find interesting, when we surveyed, we had people surveying hundreds of people on the day. You know, we had a great few headliners like Boy Soda. We thought people were coming for the bands and that sort of thing. And when we looked at the data, 69% of people that showed up at the Gosford Block Party, they didn't come for the music, they didn't come for the food, they came to support Gosford. That's absolutely phenomenal. Like, I don't think you'd find many festivals coming and saying that they just came to support the town, and that's kind of what we've got here. We've got the appetite. People want it to work. With all the new residents that have moved in, some of the feedback is concerning, and a lot of it is around how people feel walking around and the graffiti. You know, words have been used, you know, sort of around, it's quite apocalyptic. So we do, the next stage of all of this development is we sort of do, we're sort of almost positioned to set ourselves up again to be a satellite city still, where that means where people aren't staying and playing, they're just sort of living here and going out everywhere else. Because if we don't catch up with the development that's happening, then, you know, you're just going to, there have been many cities around the world that have failed with just development only. A really big part of thriving communities is those community-led interventions and sort of environmental design that are targeting people and communities. And part of that activation for us means people being able to walk around at any time of the day or night. One good thing that I can say around for Gosford is that around all the crime, that we do know that non-alcohol related crime is the crime that we're all being made aware of right now. But when it comes to that sort of nighttime economy and the alcohol related crime, that's actually completely stabilised. So it's not around having places to go, listening to bands, having things to do. That's not what's causing the challenges. That's more an issue that's happening around elements of society that are just allowed to sort of keep graffitiing, keep sort of smashing windows, keep sleeping in the doorways. So they're the things that I think that we need to be focusing on.
Would you like to see beat police 24/7? We've got a giant police station full of police up the top end. Why can't they just walk through the CBD constantly or ride through on their bikes? Is that too much to ask, or is that just too hard? I know you talk to the police and try to work very closely with them.
Would be an absolute game changer. I think having that visibility will strengthen the community, not only the community's resilience, but sort of it really would make things a lot better for all of us. I think that when you talked about the axe wielding the other day, so, you know, we worked with police on that. That was spotted at the moment. We called them. They came. They caught the assailant within 10 minutes. But the stress of wondering if someone's going to come, you know, is someone around, sort of looking around. We had a couple of different shop owners trying to grab attention, trying to find some help. Definitely, I think having that police presence around, particularly when you've got an emerging city like Gosford, where there is a lot going on. There's a lot changing. There's gentrification. There's development. There's
Well, that's right. There are more vulnerable people. Lots of young mums, lots of children, lots of families now in Kibble Park, and I think that they need to be protected. Juan, we've got to leave it there. You're doing a great job. As a neighbour, thanks for what you do, and we'll continue to talk about it.
Thanks so much, Scott. Really appreciate the time today.
Good to talk, and lots of good things hopefully outweighing the bad. Thanks for your time.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Juan Yoko there. No doubt his organisation will get a bit of a mention in our What's On after 8:30 as well. Always something good happening at the Fun House in the heart of Gosford, trying to bring peace, stability and inclusion to a lovely part of the world.